Welcome back, everyone, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BETSPERTS. We are your daily dose of quick and handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson, and joining me, as always, the Minnesota half of the show, Mr. Andy Molitor. We finally got the ugly football game we thought we'd get Sunday night, Andy. It was just delayed about 24 hours. What'd you think of that mess?
Yeah, I'm sorry to anyone who said, like, there were entertaining moments, but really, like, even the first touch, and really, I went back and looked at that box score. I'm sorry if you watched that whole game and you bet New Orleans and got the best of the number, or even New Orleans second half, New Orleans live. Like, there was a bunch of New Orleans numbers that didn't cover that had probably no business not getting home. They were a better team. They were the better team. Really, not a lot of yards, like 500 total yards between the two teams. Seattle had like 219, and 80 of it was on that one play where he essentially threw a guy down. Like, if that's not OPI, I don't know what we're doing here. But yeah, an ugly game. Drew was on the under. He felt good about that. Pretty much from Jump Street. That was a real nice look on that under. I know a lot of people did bet that down. Yeah, kind of a never in doubter on that one. And PrizePicks almost got home. They just decided to not throw Lockett. I think he got enough targets. He just didn't get the catches. Although the Alvin Kamara, my Alvin Kamara fantasy point, he had a cleared back. He scored that touchdown. He had like 30 fantasy points. So I'm guessing there's some of you out there that play fantasy that had him in your lineup that probably could have overtaken a decent deficit with Kamara in the lineup last night. I'm sure he was in the Millionaire Maker or whatever you want to call it, the showdown. I don't know if it's the Millie Maker, but the showdown, the main showdown slate for DFS. I'm sure he was in the captain spot, and anybody of note who made any sort of money in that. So big day from him. Geno stinks. Jameis. You know what? I liked it when he yelled at Traquan Smith. A little leadership there. That made me happy. Otherwise, the rest of the game stunk out loud.
Yeah, the Metcalf touchdown was 84 yards. Now, how many, and again, you might just have this open. Don't look. How many total passing yards did the Seahawks have in the game? Again, 84 yards on that one pass. What did they get in total?
Like, it was 219 total yardage, so probably like 150, 160.
129.
I was high. I didn't think they ran that well.
They had 45 more yards.
Well, I'm sure they gave it their best shot.
That has to be some kind of record, right?
Really, really ugly football. Yeah, can you imagine if they hadn't got that?
Like, really, you probably go back to when they first started passing, like for one pass to be such a high percentage of a team's passing yards.
Yeah, we're like an Army game where, you know, right. they run 60 plays and the quarterback is 1 for 2 for 14 yards. Like back, those were fun, where it was just like, hey, we're just going to run every down and we're going to pass one time if it's like 4th and 14. And we really need to score at the end. So, yeah, it was, and there was questions. Patrick's asking this: when it was 4th and 28 from your own end zone, is it optimal to take a safety? I think some people asked like Deck Prism about that. I think maybe in the past pre-rule changes for the onside it would have been, but the chances of recovering the onside kick have to be darn near pretty close to the chances of gaining 28 yards on that 4th down. Like it's really, really tricky to make that work on an onside kick now that they changed some of those rules. And it's not just gluten time.
The onside kick after a safety is a punt, right?
See, it's a free kick. You can do whatever you want. So you can most punt because their punters can kick a more optimal kick than a kickoff. So because it's from a different line, but you can onside after a safety.
I've always wondered if anybody's played rugby or watched rugby, one of the plays you see a lot of times is they'll just punt the ball kind of high in the air, or to get the play started, it's a drop kick, but they'll kick it high in the air about 15, 20 yards down the field, knowing that basically it's a jump ball. And I've always been curious as to why after safeties, teams don't try that more often. Basically just have your punter out there tell them, like, all right, go ahead and punt it like 20 yards, but see how high in the air you can get it. Send out the all-hands team and just do like a jump ball Hail Mary thing. Like, worst case, you probably turn it into a fumble. And again, this might be completely against the rules. I have no idea what you are and are not allowed to do. But
on the Sunday night game, Brinson and I were saying that, like, it's so wet. The ball is so wet. Like, you guys should on kickoffs or punts, they should kick it as high as possible. Even if you do call a fair catch, which you can on a kickoff, it's still slippery and wet. Like, make them field that ball for sure. So hopefully, the stretch of the rainy game, which went over, and the shitty game because of bad quarterbacks, hopefully we don't get a 2-game primetime stretch like that in a while. Although the Packers are missing a star player on Thursday, that still should be a good game, hopefully. I don't want to see the Packers get blown out in that one. I want something decent to watch. Tonight, no football. Not yet. Not quite there yet, but there is a World Series baseball game. It will be a baseball game that they're going to hold in the Houston Astrodome. I don't know the name of their new park. Minute Maid? That sounds right. It is not at the Astrodome. I was looking at memories of the Metrodome earlier this morning, so I have domes in my head. But I took a little bit on Atlanta to win the whole shebang, as they say, in not so nice terms in Major League, but to win the World Series on the futures price there. You know what I'm talking about, Alex. So I didn't want to get involved in game one here, but I did find a prop I like. It is formerly Enron Field. I wonder why they changed it.
Huh. I wonder what that's. It's weird.
That's 100% correct. That's pretty funny. So. Oh God, I did play one prop. I looked at a few. I've seen some people on Maldonado because he has a good history against Mr. Steakhouse, but all those stats are from like 2012 when Charlie Morton was a Pirate. Like, I get, hey, the guy. If you just look at from 1,000 feet up, they're like, Maldonado has a really good history against Charlie Morton, but a ton of it is like 10-year-old batting stuff. Like, I can't take that into account. So I thought about him over 1 hit or him over total bases. Altuve a little worse. I think 2 for 10 lifetime, and a lot of those are a little more recent. I think basically hitless with a bunch of ugly at bats against Charlie Morton there in 2019 when they played. Didn't pitch against the Astros this year, being back in the NL. But Altuve, I was looking to fade him in some way, shape, or form. Really, really juicy for under 1.5 total bases. So I took somebody I liked a little bit in Austin Riley over Jose Altuve, and this is total hits plus runs plus RBIs. It's just a matchup. It could push, I guess, but I got him at even money as Altuve's a -30 favorite here at a book that rhymes with Nevada. So I was able to find some fun matchups there. Otherwise, in the prop builder, there's just not a ton. I know the legal books have a lot of stuff. I'm probably going to dig into this more. I'd like to have a couple props. It's almost like the national championship game or the Super Bowl. Like, even if you're not taking a side, it's fun to have a bunch of props. So this is one I will have tonight. And also tonight, more basketball.
That's right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6. This is one,
right? He's starting, right? He's back in the fold.
No. I don't believe Ben Simmons is back in the fold. I believe he's no longer being suspended, though. They are now calling him away with personal issues. Not exactly sure what the change in determination is there, but I think hypothetically he's no longer suspended. Anyway, it is a Tuesday night, which in the NBA means a little bit of a smaller slate since we'll have the TNT games. There's a few games. We'll talk about the Sixers game in just a second when I do have a pick. Warriors are playing the Thunder. Thought about it under there, but we'll see. I'll put that out on BETSPERTS if I change my mind there. That's actually, I think, been ticking up a little bit. So if that gets to like 225, I will probably look at it under there. Rockets, Dallas, a lot of smart people on the Rockets. Just hard to trust a team that is actively trying to lose games. At 221.5, as good as unders have been, Andy, and unders have been hitting at like a 58% clip to start the season so far. I don't mind an over there. That might be a good spot to go with overs, which, again, have been struggling. The Nuggets, they're getting 7. Again, a lot of smart people on them, but they're on a back-to-back. And it's something they did last year. If you go back and look, they would kind of sleepwalk through the first half of a back-to-back and a look-ahead spot. And we saw them do that last night where they didn't really do too much in their loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, again, a lot of smart people I know on the Nuggets there. I just haven't quite gotten there yet. But my Philadelphia 76ers, despite the fact that Joel Embiid is questionable. He didn't get his rest spot against Oklahoma City on Sunday because Andre Drummond was out. It seems like Andre Drummond is going to play tonight. which means maybe they will rest Joel Embiid. I just don't see it. I think that this is a marquee game here against the Knicks, a division opponent. They're probably not going to be able to beat this Knicks team without Joel Embiid on the floor. So, he had a night off. He did only play 33 minutes in Oklahoma City. If you go back and look, they weren't, really high usage, high activity minutes. I'm hoping that he's healthy enough to play tonight. And at plus 105, with Joel Embiid in, I have them about a 2.5 point favorite here over the Knicks. With Joel Embiid out, I do have it pretty close. The Knicks are about a 1 point favorite there. So happy to grab the plus 105. I do believe that Embiid's going to play. If he's out, we'll end up having the worst of the number, Andy, but I don't mind it.
I do, and somebody is the Ben Franklin logo is so good. I don't think that is that an official alternate logo?
So
is that just some
it's when the new ownership team took over as a distraction for the process. They had a bunch of voting about what the Sixers mascot would be, and although they ended up on a dog, one of the options was kind of basketball Ben Franklin, and they've been going ahead and used that logo in a bunch of stuff. So I don't know if it's an official Sixers logo, but they've definitely used it for stuff, and you can certainly get stuff with it on it. I think I've seen somebody with that on a hat or something. But yeah, it's great. Ben Franklin.
I like it. He invented bifocals, for Christ's sakes. It ain't gritty, but nobody's gritty. I mean, no one's ever going to.
It's not the Fanatic. You say one thing about Philadelphia. It's probably the best mascot city in the world.
Really?
We have the Fanatic, which is like the most recognized mascot, I think, in the United States or something like that.
Tommy Lasorda beat the shit out of him.
And now we got Gritty.
And now you got Gritty. Speaking of Gritty, getting gritty down in Bermuda, I don't know what that means. Just my poor attempt at a segue to golf.
Is this the one where they're playing real golf, or is this the points one?
This is real golf. This is not.
The Barracuda is the points one. Sorry.
The Barracuda is the Stableford scoring one. This is a regular tour event that started as an alternate event. This is a full points event. So if you win this event, you will go to the Tournament of Champions in January. You will go to the Masters if you're not already in. This will get you your card for a couple years. Like this is a full-blown event where nobody showed up. Like this is a very, very rough field because it's still essentially is an alternate event, but a very big opportunity to somebody who needs to get, wants to get into the Masters, wants to get in, have their tour card for a couple years. So like big opportunity because the top of the board is like Matt Fitzpatrick. I think Patrick Reed is the biggest name here. And it's not particularly close, but Matt Fitzpatrick, Zayden Hoot, Mito Pereira, Adam Hadwin, Seamus Power are like the top of the board here. So this is a decent one to take some flyers. That's what I did. I certainly wasn't going to bet any of those guys at like 20-1. So Matthias Schwab, who if you go look at his stats, not that great, but has been playing very good on the European tour where he spends a little more of his time. He actually top 20 his last two stops out there. One of them being the weird PGA, which is kind of a split event there, and the Andalusia Masters there in Spain. So he's playing better than I think people let on, and you can see his price. He is kind of in that second, third tier there. Another one I took was Brian Stewart. Decent enough. I believe I took him. Yeah, just kind of based on a short game. Decent enough putter. This is a short, scoreable event, especially some of the early holes that aren't right by the ocean. They're not going to get wind. If you have a decent enough shot off the tee and you're putting okay, you're going to score a bunch. He's been great with the short game. Good putter. Where does that leave me with? Ryan Armour, another guy I've backed here and there. He hasn't been great of late, but he plays well in these shittier events. He got 5th at Barbasol, 3rd at the 3M Open, 8th at the Palmetto. This is a guy, like all three of these guys, I'm probably taking top 20s on as well, because I really do believe they will have decent rounds be in contention, but who knows who the heck wins this one. And a bit of a long shot in Chase. Oh man, I looked it up once even too. It's Chase Seifert. I'm gonna go Seifert. That is the German pronunciation of this. Whatever. Yeah, Seifert. George
Reach
Seifert.
Out, let us
Chase
know.
Seifert. Yeah, let us know. Let us know, Chase, if you're watching. Again, a decent Bermuda putter. His stats haven't been great of late, but he's decent with his approach game. His last 50, 24 rounds, wherever you want to go, he's still a little closer to the upper echelon, but the upper third of this whatever you want to call it, this motley crew of golfers that have trekked down to Bermuda. than his price indicates. So I have his price a lot lower than this. This is more of a. There's probably books out there you can find him $150. I bet there's a 175 out there if you really went and hunted. I just grabbed some Chris numbers off the bat. I'm going to go hunt down the best prices and bet these 4 and find some top 20s for him as well. And I'm looking forward to hopefully this one's on TV.
Ooh, I like that quite a bit. I'd sort of be able to find it. I mean, thanks to tennis, golf isn't quite the most annoying sport in the world to watch, but it's close.
It is getting there. It is certainly. I'd love that with the Japanese event. Like that shit was on TV. It was 11 p.m. and I shouldn't have been staying up that late every night watching golf, but it was certainly on TV, and that made me happy.
God forbid they put sports on for us to watch, Andy. I mean, I know that people must love watching people sit behind desks talking about stuff because that's all that's on. God forbid they let us watch somebody's.
I'm gonna continue my segue. Speaking of watching sports in the middle of the night, that was actually a good one.
I like that.
We're heading to Courmayeur,
which is in Italy, apparently. I think I said it was in France yesterday. I screwed that up. Apologies.
It's all the same over there.
Courmayeur.
It's like food. Europe is like when the food mixes up on your plate and your parent says it's all going to the same place. Like, yeah, they're just states over there.
That's an interesting choice of analogy. But
Italy, whatever. They're close.
We've got a couple plays here, and these ones actually start shortly. And as unfortunately, Andy, as much as I liked your segue, it was ill-informed. Both of these matches start just after the show. We look here. Let me just double check, make sure I got the times right. Yeah, it looks like about 1:05 Eastern here for Gracheva Petkovic. Gracheva, a younger player, but having a nice second half of the season. Pekovic, an older player who kind of checked out for last year for the most part, has been working her way back into form this year. The two of them play a very long match as I go back and look. Both of them are, in pretty similar form. I wouldn't say necessarily either player is playing much better than the other. The money line here is pretty close. I have this match at 21.5. Was able to find 21 at standard juice and play it up to minus 115. Maybe 120 if you like. 21.5 at less than standard juice is probably okay. But again, I always like having that 21 if I have a chance. It's a pretty key game, especially in the WTA. If you've got a 7-5, 6-3 or, a 7-6, 6-2, which happens more often than you think. Again, this would be a pretty solid match. I expected to possibly go 3 sets. Thought about that one, but like the 21 better. Now, the second one again in Courmayeur, which is in Italy, folks. Di Giuseppe is going to play Paolini, 2 country women in front of a little bit of a crowd there. Paolini, coming off a title, has been playing very, very well. But Di Giuseppe made it through qualifying here. We like qualifiers quite a bit. I thought about maybe backing Di Giuseppe, but she generally has struggled this year. I think Paolini's going to win this match, but I expect it to go longer than 18 games. I have this at 19.5, not quite 20 myself. So to be able to get 18, there's some 18.5s out there is fine. If you wanted to sell up to 19 for plus money, I wouldn't mind that either. But again, like the qualifier here, to take a few more games than we expect off Paolini. Took the over 18 here instead of the +6 on the game spread. I think that there's a chance, maybe Paolini stretches this out a little bit and, God forbid Di Giuseppe win the first set like 7-5, 7-6 or something, and then get blown out the next 2. So I like the over 18 here. But as you know, Andy, it's always tough with tennis trying to figure out which bet you like on the underdog. In this case, we'll go with the total.
I'm about it. I get down with that. Di Giuseppe. I love that name. It's like the 800 disastrous take. I know, I'm trolling you, Scottfish. I get that these cultures are thousands of years old and very different. But actually, you know what? Switzerland isn't. Switzerland is just France, man. Let's be honest about that one.
They're neutral. They're just a parking spot. It's just a transfer station.
Switzerland is just like if France and Germany had a stepchild.
They take care of do they still take care of the Pope? Is it still the Swiss Guard? Are they still in charge of that?
Yeah, the Swiss Guard aren't really Swiss. I believe a lot of them are just Italian people. I think they just call them that. There's an Archer episode about that. I'm gonna have to go revisit. So yes, we love our Italian and French listeners, followers, viewers, commenters. Quick shout out to WinBet. Some good promos over there. I'm not sure what the best one is. I think probably the bet 5 on an NFL team win $100. Just pick out a money line favorite. It's like Survivor. It's like Survivor League where you just pick out the biggest money line favorite and they automatically win no matter what, and nobody gets Nobody gets kicked out of Survivor ever, which is no fun for anyone who's made it this far. But I digress, and I'll tell you to give us a thumbs up in the YouTube on the way out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow Alex on Twitter @_noops. Follow @BETSPERTS for any stats, updates, and information over there. I'm Andy MSFW on the Twitter machine. Like you guys, we'll check you out tomorrow for Wednesday.